This is the Roller Coaster Podcast, and I'm your host, Lucy Q. Life is a wild ride. It has twists and turns. It's scary, exciting, and downright fun. So throw your head back, arms in the air, and come along with me for the ride.
Life is like a roller coaster, baby, baby. I wanna ride.
In 2018, Lindsay Hanson quit her accounting job to follow a dream to become a business coach. But she had no idea how it was going to happen. But she was committed to see that it did. Now Lindsay is on a mission to help other women overcome self-doubt, fear of judgment, and struggles with money. Hi, Lindsay.
Hi, Lucy. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So that was a pretty courageous move to suddenly quit what was probably perceived as being a very stable job.
Yeah, probably one of the most stable jobs. So I was working in accounting, and I was working at one of the big four public accounting firms in the world. So pretty much right at the top of stable career paths, I would say. Yeah.
When you first sort of announced that you were quitting your job, not to your boss, but to
Mhm.
the people in your life, how did they react?
Yeah, I think the first person who I told was one of my coworkers, and I think he thought I was kidding. It was like, I mean, because people always say, "Oh, I'm going to quit my job," but how many people actually do it? And so it was a moment, I think, where I was realizing I'm actually going to do this. I'm not just saying I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And a lot of the people in my life were more supportive than I was expecting, but also concerned. I mean, my parents, of course, were concerned for me. They wanted me to be happy. They also wanted me to have stability and be making good money. And, I had just started my career. When I quit, I had only been working there for a year and a half. So it was very early on in my career. And it was basically like I had just graduated. I had just finished going through all these years of schooling. I have my master's degree in accounting. So I went through undergrad, I went through grad school, I got my CPA license, I started working, and then I decided I was going to leave. So I would say the people in my life were mostly supportive and a little bit concerned for me as well.
Was it scarier to tell people you were quitting or scarier telling them that you wanted to be a business coach?
Well, at the time, so I'm a business coach now. At the time that I quit my job, though, that's not what I was doing at all. So when I first quit, it was to do fitness coaching. And so at that point in my life, I was really passionate about fitness. I had been on my own fitness journey for, I want to say, like maybe 3 to 5 years at that point. And I really, in accounting, didn't feel like I was making that much of an impact. And I really felt unfulfilled by the work I was doing. And I felt like coaching would allow me to have that sense of fulfillment that I was lacking. And I was passionate about fitness at the time. It was like, I mean, I would be making workouts for my friends to do and helping them helping them out, and I really did love it. And that's what I wanted to go into because I thought it would be a career path that I really would enjoy and find fulfilling. And so while I was still in my accounting job, I actually was studying to get my personal training certification. So that was on. And I think to get back to your question of was it scarier to tell people I was quitting or to tell them what I was doing, I'd say it was scarier to say that I was quitting because personal training isn't like a crazy career path. There's plenty of people who do that and make decent money. And so it wasn't that strange of a concept. However, then there came a point where I decided I wanted to start my business entirely online. And I think that's where a lot of the people in my life probably were a little bit like, are you sure that's going to work? How can you train people online if you don't have experience training people in person first? And this whole idea of having an online business, I mean, it's relatively new, especially for my parents and, you know, people who are a little bit older than I am. But I was seeing all of these online fitness coaches on Instagram and on social media. And I'm like, well, if they can do it, why can't I do it? I have the knowledge to help someone. I don't need to physically be there to give someone a workout program and help them with their nutrition. Why would I not be able to do this online? And I really wanted that freedom of being able to work from home or work from anywhere, set my own schedule, not have to abide by the schedule of clients working in a gym. And the reason why I made that decision to start entirely online was because that wasn't my plan A. My plan A was to start in a gym, but then I learned that most gyms won't let you have like an online client base or a client base outside of the gym. And so I was like, well, I can either work at a gym first, and I knew I wasn't going to enjoy that, or I can just go all in on the thing I know that I really want to be doing. And that's what I did. And I hired a business coach. That was the first thing I did after I quit my job. So that was at the end of 2018. And ever since then, I mean, I've been learning about how to build an online business. And when I started my business, I didn't even have a website. I was doing it all through social media, mostly just Instagram in the beginning. And so I've learned a whole lot about marketing, about social media marketing, copywriting, finding your audience and drawing people in online. And so over the past few months, my business has sort of morphed into into business coaching and helping other women to create this lifestyle for themselves as well.
So could you have done it without the business coach, or was that a critical element in where you are today?
Yeah, I mean, I could have, I guess, but I don't even want to know how much longer it would have taken me to succeed.
So the business coach helped you fast forward things.
Definitely. So I'm trying to remember the timeline of things. So I quit my job in December of 2018, and that's when I hired my business coach. I launched my first program in January of 2019, but I had been starting to post on Instagram that I was going to become a fitness coach back in like October, because I knew that's where I was going. I was studying for my exam to get certified. And so what I didn't realize I was doing at the time is I was starting to market and brand myself online as a fitness coach. But aside from that, I had no idea how to create a coaching program, how to price it, how to package it, how to sell it. Like I wouldn't have had any idea how to do any of that. And I guess I could have figured it out on my own, but I knew that I didn't want to because I had just quit my job. And so I kind of needed it to start working pretty quickly. And I just figured, why not hire a coach, right? I don't really get, I mean, I get it because it's an investment. And so that can be scary. But yeah, I mean, why not hire a coach and do things 10 times faster than trying to figure it out on your own, you know?
And especially given your timing, you
Yeah.
would have had your business established just in time for COVID
Oh, yeah.
and all the shutdowns. So did your business stay relatively the same, or did you get an increase in business through that? Or were you still even doing fitness at the time?
Through COVID.
Yeah.
So by that point, I wasn't doing fitness coaching. At that point I was doing life. So the the evolution of my business started as a fitness coach. Then I was doing life coaching for women who felt stuck in their job, kind of stuck in that quarter life crisis, figuring out what they want to do. And then most of those women ended up also wanting to work for themselves and start an online business. So it kind of naturally evolved into the business coaching that it is now. But I stopped doing fitness coaching and transitioned into life coaching around the fall of 2019. So after almost a year of doing fitness coaching. So when COVID hit, I was a few months into my life coaching business. And I feel, I mean, sorry, I'm trying to remember the timelines of things.
That's okay.
But yeah, I feel like if anything, it helped my business pick up. And at that time I was working mostly with women who wanted to start their own online business. And what better time to start your online business than when COVID happened and everyone was
Everything is
home
online.
and everything is shut down. Everything's online and you have more free time because you're not spending, an hour a day commuting to work anymore. And I think COVID was that shift that a lot of people needed. Not only that, but there are a lot of layoffs that happened. And so it really just forced people to evaluate, am I happy with what I'm doing right now? And if not, how much longer am I going to wait to make a change?
You mentioned a quarter life crisis.
Yeah.
I've never heard that one before.
Oh, yeah. It's a new thing. All the millennials are having their quarter life crisis.
So I have to ask, I have my own, I have kids that are, well, kids, they're young adults, they're 19
Yeah.
and 22. So I can look at the struggles that are happening in my generation, Gen X, and I can see the struggles that they're having. When you were doing life coaching and helping people with those quarter life crisis,
Mm-hmm.
what did you find was the underlying cause of people to be questioning their lives at, I'm what, 25?
Yeah. I think my generation, which is millennials and even what's the generation below me, Gen Z. I think we have a very different perspective on life, and I think we have started to question the way that things have always been done. And we are not content with just going to our 9 to 5 every day, getting that stable career path, putting in 40 hours a week, and just slowly saving up money so that we can retire someday. What I've noticed is that a lot of us are not content with that, and we feel like we're almost putting our life on pause. It's like from age 25 or 23, whenever you start your career until you retire, are you just supposed to be unhappy that whole time? Like and I think
And let's be honest here, it's not like Gen X ever bought into that way of thinking.
Yeah.
I think for Gen X, it was, a pile of shit that we were sold.
Yeah.
And, our crisis at, I'm finding it, sort of call it 45 to 50 is happening probably at the same time
Yeah.
that you're seeing that 25 something
Yeah.
hitting the crisis. So it's not, I don't think it's a generational thing. I think it's a societal thing where we're saying, people are basically saying, wait a second,
Yeah.
whose life am I living? And one of the conversations that we have quite frequently here is this checklist. For my generation, it was, you finish high school, you go to college, you go to university, you graduate, you get married, you buy a house, you have your 2.4 kids, you buy your station wagon, you work at the same job, you save your money, you retire, and then you die.
Yeah.
And guess what? We're not buying it either.
Yeah.
Like the level of unhappiness and questioning in Gen X, I think, is probably much deeper than what you're seeing in your generation.
Well, yeah, because at that point, you're a lot further into your career and into your life.
They
And
drank the Kool-Aid way too early. I'm sorry. Do you know? I just said something and I'm like, wait a second. Do you know what I'm talking about?
So I do.
Oh, okay. Um,
But
but
yeah,
that's it.
I
It's
definitely noticed that, and that's how I felt. I think it was like up until I was 23 years old and actually started my career, I was just checking off all the boxes.
yes,
And I never stopped to actually really ask myself, well, where's this path going to take me, and is that where I want to go? It was just, well, this is what you do. You go to high school and then you go to college and you pick your major and then you get your degree and then you start working. And it was like all along that until I actually started working, I could just kind of go along with that and check off the boxes and get my degree. But then once I was actually in it, and it's like, oh, this is what
in
I'm doing.
cubicle hell.
This is what I'm doing for the
Yeah.
next 40 or so years. And that reality set in. And I literally saw everything you said. It was like my life flashed before my eyes. I'm like, so this is it. Like, I'm just going to go to this job every day. So I'm going to get married. I'm going to get a house. I'm going to have my kids. I'm going to have my car. I'm going to save up money, and then I'm going to retire. And then I'm going to look back on my life and be like, what was this all for? And that's really, I think, what led me to, and that's why I call it a quarter life crisis, because that's what it felt like. I was like, I was
I can
having
imagine.
an
Yeah.
existential crisis at 23 years old. And but the thing is, I'm glad that it happened then and not when I'm 50 years old, because if anything, when you're 23, that's the time to take risks. That's the time to explore your interests. That's the time before I have a family to take care of, before I have a mortgage that I'm responsible for. Because the longer you wait, the harder it's going to be. And that by no means that it's ever too late. I don't think it's ever too late. There's always a way to make a change in your life if you're not happy, but I can see how it would be harder. Like, I don't think I would have been able to quit my job the way that I did if I had kids that I was responsible for or a mortgage that I had to pay. But for me, it was like, well, if I have to, I can go back and live with my dad for a while and save on rent and, like, I don't know, sell my car, which I didn't have to do any of those things. But if I had, there's just a lot more flexibility at that point in your life.
I would say yes and no,
Yeah.
because and I look at myself at 25. At 25, I was either pregnant or I was pregnant. I had my first at 26, had my second at 30. And I was so glad that I had my kids that young
Yeah.
because now they're adults and I'm not even 50.
That is
So that part I love. And I love being a mother. I love my kids, and no, I would never change it. But I think myself at 25 would have questioned my experience and worldliness.
mm,
Whereas now I'm 48. Um, there's a certain, I don't know, I don't want to say comfort, but there's just a certain level of confidence that you may have where you've lived through certain things, so you're just a little more confident that, hey, wait a second, yeah, I've done all these things, I have all this
mm,
experience, I'm bringing something to the table. But ultimately, I don't care what age you are,
yeah.
you are going to have fear, you are
Mm-hmm.
going to have the naysayers, and you're always going to have that nagging in your head, because whether you've got a mortgage and a car or you've got a bus pass and rent,
Mm-hmm.
you got stuff to pay for.
Yeah.
So that's always going to be calling into question.
Yeah.
There's always a million things, but ultimately it's one of the struggles that we have to get through. If you want something different out of life, not everybody does. Some people, I know a lot of people that do the 9 to 5 and they love their jobs. They love the people they work
Yeah.
for. They love everything about it. But there's also a group of people that are looking for something different.
Yeah.
But to make that leap, whether you're 25 or 50, it can be a little bit scary. There's always fear.
Be a lot scary.
It's a lot scary. It is. And I mean, even for me, you sort of talk about with, your when you told your parents you're quitting your job and what you're doing,
Yeah.
and they're questioning. I still try and explain to my parents why I have a podcast.
Yeah.
So you're always going to run into those obstacles. How is it that you help women, regardless of age? How is it that you help women overcome those struggles so that they can then choose something differently for themselves?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the work that I do, and this is especially what I focused on when I was a life coach, but uh, your mindset is so important, especially as an entrepreneur, because running your own business is going to bring up any. I always just say it brings up all of your shit real quick. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on your
Oh,
podcast.
don't even worry about that.
Okay.
I already did.
Oh, did you? I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it'll bring up all your insecurities, all your self-doubt, all your fear. That's also really good because once it's all up to the surface, then you can deal with it and then you can work through it. And the I mean, there's a thought work process that I use in terms of a very practical exercises and methods if you wanted me to go into that. But what it comes down to is your thoughts. Your thoughts create your feelings, which dictate your actions, which dictate your results. That's kind of the cycle of how our brains work. And so if you want different results, you got to trace it back to your thoughts. What are the thoughts that are creating your current reality? And a lot of the time, the things that we are afraid of. So if we're afraid, for example, oh, what if I quit my job and this person judges me? They think it's a stupid decision. There's really just a fear there deep down that you're a little bit afraid that it's a stupid decision because you wouldn't be worried about somebody else thinking that if you didn't believe that it might be true or if you weren't afraid it might be true, right? So it really just is a process of looking at your own thoughts, recognizing what the fear stems from. A lot of times, I mean, when we start diving into your fears around money and stuff like that, there's so much that comes up of, well, what did I learn about money growing up? What type of relationship really did I have with money? How did I see my parents interacting with money? And that can have a whole impact on why people stay in a stable job, right? If they saw maybe your parents had their own business and they always struggled with money. So there's this idea that working for yourself is not safe, that you can't have consistent income if you work for yourself. And then that's, the thoughts that we have to dive into and shift, because it's going to be pretty hard to create a business if you don't believe you can have stability and work for yourself. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. What's the biggest myth that you find that women are telling themselves about making that choice to live the life that they want?
That they're not good enough.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
mean, that's the biggest lie we tell ourselves, whether it's I'm not smart enough, I don't have enough experience, I'm not. So a lot of times, especially if people want to start an online business or they want to use social media to market their business, we think, oh, I'm not outgoing enough for social media, or I'm too blunt, I'm too whatever, or I'm not enough whatever. And all of that is it's just a lie, because what is going to allow you to grow your business most effectively, especially if you have like a coaching type of business or anything where you're really the face of your business, is authenticity. And people will be drawn to you and how you naturally are. And I think also, as I'd say, this is the most common myth I hear from women, is that they're not business savvy. They're not business people, because we have a very traditional idea that maybe entrepreneurship or running your business is this sort of masculine role. I mean, one of my clients said to me one time, she's like, well, I'm not a salesperson. That's a very masculine thing. And I'm like, is it though? Because it doesn't feel very masculine to me. And I think there are so many different ways to do business, and understanding that your natural personality traits are a gift that can be used to your advantage, and they are never too much and they're never not enough.
Yeah, and ultimately there's an audience that will be attracted to you
Yes.
as long as you're being authentic, as long
Yeah.
as you're being your true self. Your tribe, your audience, whatever you want to call it, they're out there. They will find you. It's not necessarily an instant overnight thing. It takes
Mm-hmm.
work, but
Yeah.
ultimately you get there. Um, so what is the best way for people to connect with you, Lindsay?
Yeah. So I'm on all the social media. My handle is Lindsay M. Hanson on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on TikTok, wherever you're at. You can also go to my website, lindsayhanson.com. And I also have a podcast. It's called Quit Your Job, Sis. You can find that on any podcast platform.
And you also have some great freebies on your website. I know, because I was there today and I
I
downloaded a couple.
do. Oh, yeah, I forget what I have up on my freebie page, but you can go check it out.
I
I have an
think,
Instagram guide. I think I have a
yeah,
LinkedIn guide. I also have
and a
I have an
podcast one.
audio. Yeah, I have an audio course that you can listen to. You can start listening to for free, called What to Do If You Hate Your Job. But yeah, check out my freebie page, check out my website. I have, or even just on social media, like my Instagram page and my podcast, lots of free value for sure.
Well, if you're looking at connecting with Lindsay, check out the show notes. I will have all the links in there. And thank you for joining me today, Lindsay, and sharing your story.
Thank you so much for having me, Lucy.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Roller Coaster Podcast. Want to chat or share your ideas about today's show? Pop me an email at hello@therollercoasterpodcast.com. Don't forget to connect with me on Facebook and Instagram at The Roller Coaster Podcast. Our theme song, Roller Coaster, was performed by The Lucky Setback. Audio editing by the one and only Jeff Quigley of Quigley Creative.
Life